Hello everyone, this is LW Gaming and welcome to a brand new installment of Future Langrisser. Today's we're going to talk about the major update that's going to be coming to global version soon, which is going to be featuring Tabres and Tyrantel, or Tabres. That's how I pronounced her name previously. So I don't know which one is correct, but hopefully one of those is right. So anyways, in this update we're going to be talking about Tabres and Tyrantel, and let's get right into what these characters are. Let's get right into it. And also on top of that, there's a new SP hero as well. So look forward to that one soon. So anyways, let's talk about what those heroes are. And let's see. So anyways, first off, let's talk about Tabers first. I'm saving the best for last. So of course. Anyways, the Tabers is part of Princess Alliance, Strategic Masters, and Meteor Strike. And then for classes, she is a flyer and infantry. Her talent, Dark Wing Rebel, which is of course the name that I got from the Chinese translation. So her talent name could be different in the game. So in the actual global version of the game. So anyways, I'll change it accordingly within the wiki, so you see what is it supposed to be. So anyways, attack and defense plus 10, 15, 20, 25% depending on star level. After actively dealing damage, applies 1 to 2 stacks of Dark Feather to the enemy for 3 turns, and this can be stacked up to 3 times. With each cast or recast, the duration of all Dark Feathers on the target will be refreshed. So yep. So even though if you're able to reapply the Dark Feathers on those enemies, those dark feathers are going to stay for another 3 turns. So yeah, we refresh back to 3 turns, which is interesting. If the enemy has 1 stack of dark feather, which by the way, the dark feather effect is like damage received when fighting Tabers will be increased by 20%. And when an enemy has 2 stacks of dark feather, they can be targeted by Tabers skill within the entire field. Oh my goodness, that is pretty terrifying. And let's see. After which, Tabers will teleport to an empty space near the target and cast skills on the target. When an enemy has 3 stacks of Dark Feather, they can't counterattack when attacked by Tabers, which that is pretty strong, don't you think? So like at 1 stack, they'll suffer more damage from Tabers, but with like 20% damage taken more damage taken. And also, if they have 2 stacks of the Dark Feather, Tabris will actually attack you from anywhere, which is insane. And then last but not least, after like if you have like 3 stacks, like the enemy has 3 stacks, they are not able to counterattack. So this is it's sold as a 3C if you have like at least like maybe 2 or 3 wills active, but anyways, you get the idea. Even though this sound is great and all, but the thing is, the dark feather in fact can be resisted. So yeah, you can tell that this is not gonna go well, because for one, they can just clearly dispel it, and also the crystal's barrier is gonna stop those dark feathers from applying to themselves. So yeah, you can tell that Tabor's talent is great, but it lacks a certain thing like is like it could be resisted. So yeah, that's the one thing that kind of that kind of disappoints some people, because for one, her talent is great, but it's just that it is dispellable. So yeah, you can tell this is not gonna sit well. So that's why I'm showcasing her first before I move on to the more important ones. So anyways, these are her skills. The one C skill called Shadow Highlighting. This is the 4 turn cooldown, 3 blocks targeting, and single target. And is an active skill. And this one gives one ally the effect of after an active attack to deal damage, apply 1 stack of Dark Feather to the enemy, which will last 2 turns. And then after this, Tabers additionally gains Shadow Illumination. If Tabers' HP is 80% or higher, it can't be targeted by normal attacks and skills for 2 turns. So yeah, this skill is pretty useful for Tabres because for one, as long as she's staying healthy above 80%, she will not be attacked unless she gets splashed by another ally, by another ally standing near her. Because splashing her is still possible if you use AOE, but or lying AOE will also work too. So yeah, it is great for some scenarios. And then also giving one ally the ability to inflict the dark feather to an enemy is is actually great to have. But of course not great against Rosen Seal, if you get the point. And then 2C skill, Hidden Ambitions. And keep in mind, once again, that this is all from CN translation, so the names you see here could be different in global. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, the 2C skill is a 3-turn cooldown, and it's a melee attack range, and it's a single target. And it attacks one enemy, dealing 1.6 times damage when there are fewer allies on the field, and this does not include non-player units and summons, than the enemy. This attack ignores guard. If the target has at least 2 stacks of dark feathers, this attack will directly damage the hero. If you successfully destroy an enemy, the buff duration will not lose their turn count. And this only applies in PvP. So yeah, you can tell that this is going to be really helpful in PvP. But however, if you use this skill outside of PvP, I have a feeling that it's not going to be as effective. Well, I don't know if it's only like the part where you had to kill the enemy, but other than that, I feeling that's it actually. But hey, Tabris 2C is quite okay, or I should say solid, because it does like a guard ignore, and also if you're able to do like a if you then you're able to do like a hero damage direct damage, of course. And yeah, you can tell that this is going to be excellent for her. And finally, her 3C skill, Dawn of the Heavy Dawn. This is again, this might not be the official name, so bear with me. It is a 5-turn cooldown, 2 blocks range, and it's a 3 blocks AoE. And there's a passive component to this. When an ally dies, the enemy attacker gains 2 stacks of dark feathers. So yeah, the attacker will suffer some more of those stacks. But of course, the dark feathers are preventable. So yeah, this is okay. But anyways, as this only works if she is dealing with a team that doesn't have anything to resist. Anyways, physical damage is what it does. Like deals 0.15 times AoE damage to enemies within 3 blocks radius, and restores 30% of the max HP to allies within 3 blocks radius. Yep, the same range. So this is like a Young Jessica's 3C, but this is Tabre's version, like Tabre's version. After this, Tabers receive Dawn of the Heavy Light. Before entering combat, deals 0.1 times AoE damage to all enemies within 1 ring radius around Tabers, and this cannot be dispelled and lasts 2 turns. After use, can move 3 blocks and attack. So this is like an act against skill, which is interesting because I don't think we have any other hero that does that. I don't know. I might be wrong here, but anyways, the name itself, like I think the Dawn of the Heavy Dawn, that name should be called Dawn of the Heavy Light in that case. But who knows? We'll see how the translation is gonna go from here, because I'm not too sure what those skills are actually called, but anyways, back to the topic about the 3C being as an act against skill. So, yeah, I honestly don't think there's any other 3C that does act against aside from Sissy White, but that one doesn't really count because you apply it to an ally. This one is actually on herself. So, yeah, I don't know about this. So let me know in the comments if you think that's right or something, because I wasn't sure if this is the first time Tabris has this. like being the 3C with an act again skill. Well, aside from Sissy's thing which you had to apply to allies for this to work. But anyways, moving on. Moving on to the next other hero we got is Tyrantel, and I gotta say this guy is a must because he is a beast out there. Even though his role is a tank, he's actually really good offensively too. So, anyways, let's talk about what his does. So, anyways, his factions. He's part of Empire's Honor, Mythical Realm, and Reincarnation Langrisser Reincarnation Tensei. And then his class types are Infantry and Flyer. Sounds funny, isn't it? Because the other hero we just covered just now is also Infantry and Flyer. Interesting choices for Tyrantel. So I have a feeling that if you want to build him really well, I probably think he will be best utilized as a flyer. But however, be careful with the anti-flying units because those guys could probably shoot him down. As far as I know so far. Anyways, the damage taken minus 10 to 25% depending on star level. So yeah, you can tell the damage taken on his talent is it's basically indicating that he's a tank. So yeah, and also First King's Decision, that's his talent name, but of course it'll be called differently in global if Zealand decide to change it up a little. At the end of the action, select an enemy and cast Seal of Dominance. And basically what it does is that enemy attacks last during combat. So yeah, basically enables an ally that you selected. I mean not ally. It's like an enemy that you selected, and then that enemy will be forced to attack last. So yeah, basically it gives anybody that attacked them will go first. So yep, it's pretty interesting though. And this cannot be immunized and it can't be dispelled. So even though if you have someone like a Rosenseal, you literally cannot resist this. You literally cannot. And this will last 3 turns. This effect can be triggered again after 2 turns. When an enemy with Sorrow of Dominance is within 3 blocks around Tyrantel, attack and defense minus 10 to 20%. So yeah, that enemy will receive that kind of debuff on them. And also, when Tyrantel dies, the Imperial Will unit appears upon his death position. So this is the part that actually makes him really good. Because when he dies, he becomes like some kind of phantom that it will try to get to another non-summoned ally, of course. And then you can choose to cast Echo of a Battle Will, and on a non-summoned ally, inherits all of Tyrantel's abilities to the target ally and act again. This effect can only trigger once per map. And the Imperial Will is like inherits 100% of its attribute and is considered a summoned object with independent actions. And then Echo of Battle Will, choose a non-summoned ally. Oh god, whoops. Oh dear, there's a truck out there. Hopefully you don't mind the noise. Anyways, within 7 blocks. Oh, of course, I don't know why I said cells, but it's blocks actually. The target must be the player unit, and it doesn't matter if they have already taken action. So even if they already have acted, they will just act again anyways. Anyways, I'm trying my best to like muffle out the background noise because there's a garbage truck out there. I don't know why it's rolling through at this time, but anyways, we had to move on. So Taranto has a lot of skills. So let's talk about what these are. So, anyways, the 1C skill he has is called the Greatness of the King, and is a passive skill. Damage dealt by normal attacks is increased by 20%. When actively attacking and entering combat, if your own attack is higher than the enemy's attack in combat will be reduced by 15%. Which is pretty nice and all. Like basically Tyrant will be able to hit them hard while they won't be able to do much against them. 2C skill, Throne of the Lord. It's a 2-turn cooldown and it's a single target skill. And the passive part is that this is a guard skill, by the way. Enters combat instead of nearby allies. So that's the passive part of him. And the active part of this is that it adds 15% of attack to defense and magic defense. So make him even more tanky. And also can counterattack from 2 blocks. And can't be dispelled. Guard range is increased to 2 blocks, and damage taken minus 15% for 2 turns. So this is kind of like this is kind of like Lightbringer skill, like the skill that converts some of your offensive stats into your defensive stats, which is interesting to have. And then the other 2C skill he has is Determined Judgment. This is a 2 turn cooldown, 1 block, single target. The passive part of this is that damage dealt increases. The increases value is equal to the talent's damage reduction effect. So depending on what is your damage reduction on your talent, this will also reflect your damage dealt as well. So yeah, this is gonna be great. So for the kit, I will talk about that later. So anyways, physical damage, and it does like single target, of course, dealing 1.5 times damage. Damage taken minus 15% in combat. After combat, Tyrantel's HP is restored by 30% of the damage dealt by the unit. So yeah, like depending on how much damage you deal, you heal 30% of it for yourself. And of course, the 3C, there's 2 versions actually. The first version is Oath of Watch. This is the guard skill. The passive component is that this one enters combat instead of nearby allies. So this is easily replaceable with the. This can be easily be a replacement for the 2C that I talked about earlier, Throne of the Lord. And this one has some additional effects on it. So basically, he cannot be displaced. Just to let you know, and also he's immune to fixed damage. So if you think of putting him on with like a swordsman medal, that is not necessary because his 3C already prevents the fixed damage. So yeah, I don't think you need swordsman medal, so you need something else on there. So anyways, let's talk about what this skill does. So it is an active skill, like I said earlier, this is a guard skill. Adds 15% attack to defense and active defense, and can counterattack range attacks from 2 blocks. It cannot be dispelled. Guard range is increased to 2 blocks, and greatly increased offensive defense attributes, and this will last 4 turns. Kind of like a faction buff for himself, so just to let you know. After use, the skill is replaced with Destruction of Lies, which lasts 3 turns, of course. If Tyrantel is affected by Echo of Battle Will, the number of buff durations will not lose their turn count, and can move 3 blocks and attack. So as long as he under certain conditions, this can also be used as an act against skill. So yeah, you can tell this tank is offensive. Oh my goodness, I don't think I have any offensive tanks nowadays, but I don't know. Christian might be an exception, but Lightbringer maybe. But Atlantis is solely a tank, so. Anyways, we'll see who am I gonna replace later because because I have 3 units in my box that are tanks and they're pretty good in their own ways. But of course, he won't be usable until a certain level, so it'll take a while to get there. Anyways, the other part of his 3C is called Destruction of Lies. Again, the names might change in global, so take this as an idea. Anyways, there's a 5-turn cooldown, 1 block, and it's a single target. And the passive part of this is that, and it's the same thing as above, of course. I'm not going to repeat that again. Attacks one enemy, dealing 1.6, no, not 1.6, 1.8 times damage, and dispels 5 buffs before combat. And when the number of other allies on the field is less than or equal to 2, the damage dealt plus 20% to the enemy with the Seal of Dominance. If the enemy is successfully eliminated, the cooldown of this skill is removed. So yeah, as long as you're able to kill the enemy, you get this skill back immediately. So anyways, so how this works is that in most 3C skills that have multiple ones, like think of this as apotheosis kind of thing. So as long as the apotheosis still had that revive on him, the skill will remain as a second phase. So this is what Tyrantel is, but for his case, it will stay like this for 3 turns. So after the 3rd turn ends, it will switch back to Oath of Watch. So just to let you know. And then during the time period, if you're able to kill someone with this skill, you can get this back as soon as possible. So that's pretty nice. So the skill kit I can think of here is that bring the 1C skill, of course, and also bring the Determined Judgment 2C, and also the 3C. That's the best part of him. So yeah, that's a nice addition to the game because we have been expecting him to come at some point, but it looks like the time is gonna be now. And also, let's not forget about the new SP hero that's gonna be introduced in this update. So this update will introduce a new SP hero for Lanford, like SP class. I mean, for Lanford. And anyways, for factions, in case you guys forgot what he's part of Uleste and Strategics, and also he's a faction buff for Strategic Masters. Well, of course, even though he's been in the game for quite a while, he really deserved this. Anyways, his SP basic bonus is HP and magic defense increase of 5%, which is pretty nice. And his SP talent, Marshall, will of course in the CM version it might call differently, but I'm just copying this based on my wiki, my Lang wiki, of course. Ignore skill cost limit, damage dealt plus 10 to 20% depending on star level. All stats except HP, it plus 5 to 15% to all allies within 2 blocks of Lanford. If the ally are in mixed forces, the stats are additionally increased by 1 to 5%. And when actively attacking, unit attacks first before the enemy. After ending action, Lanford can choose to change his class to Lancer, and which will reduce his movement to 3. The movement type is changed to on foot, and then damage taken minus 20%, and this cannot be dispelled and ignores immunity. So basically, he turns from Flyer into a Lancer, and in this mode, he can easily guard his allies because there is a damage reduction on there. And also you might be asking, how can you switch back to Flyer? Well, simply activate that skill again to change back to Flyer. And then the new soldiers he'll get from this SP is Star Prisma Pegasus. So I gotta say, this new soldier is a nice addition to Lanford because he'll need it later on. And let's talk about his skills, the SP skills. He has a 2C skill, which is a defense skill, like the thing that guards. So, anyways, this one basically, like the passive part of this is that it takes all attacks instead of nearby allies, immune to the displacement effects, and active skill silence effects. So even though if you're trying to silence him, that's not possible when he have this equipped. So yeah, this is gonna be nuts. And then and also the guard range will be increased to the command range, and damage taken minus 20%, and 15% Lanford's attack is added to defense and magic defense for 4 turns. And the 2C SP skill, the other one is called Make a Decision. Of course, it will be different. Crit and crit damage plus 20% during an active attack. If there's an ally with mixed forces within 3 blocks from Lanford, unit will ignore guard and attack the target directly. When attacking, if a crit is scored, gains damage taken minus 30% for 1 turn. So I gotta say, Lanford is quite solid in his SP. So yeah, it's nice to have him in your team if you have been using him for quite a lot. But if you didn't use him much lately, then I don't think you should waste your time on investing in this one, unless you really like the character. So anyways, that's it for the Lanford. So anyways, let's move on to the next part, which is the banners. What banners to expect. So there's something that kind of worries me about this series as a whole moving forward, because for one, although I am confident that Wikirester will update from time to time, but as of now, this is the last one that is displayed on the site. So hopefully, Death Crystal will update that site soon, because we're getting close to the part where when an update is needed. So let's get back to the video. So anyways, the first week we'll be expecting which is the new heroes, Tabres and Tyrantel, or Tabers, starting on the 27th of June all the way to July 25th. And then on week 2, we have Petrucia and Andrio rated banner, and as well as Lancer 1, 2, and 3 heroes, starting on the 4th of July holiday, American holiday, and all the way to July 17th. So I gotta say, this week's banner is actually pretty good for players who are just gonna get into PvP, because for one, Andrio is a must because he's basically a horse riding Gintoki in some ways. And then Patricia is the sub option as Sagani. So if you don't have those guys already, please grab them because they're pretty nice to have. Next up we have is the new radar banner for Wandering Duelist, Hoffman, and Nymph. And then alongside that, it has a wish banner of Langrisser 4 and 5. This week banner will begin on July 11th all the way to July 25th, which is the end of the major update. And then on the fourth week, we have the Less Legends Destiny banner featuring Lanford, Shelfaniel, and Varash. And then the classic Destiny banner of Rachel, Tiaras, and Lana. This will begin on the 18th of July all the way to July 31st. So yeah, this is gonna be a doozy of a ride here. You also keep in mind that these banners might change out at any moment, so take this as a grain of salt. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about some what events and changes to expect here. So, in this major update, there are actually some things we need to talk about here. So, for one, Forbidden Background is returning, and this will begin on the second week. So get your heroes ready and rumble. And what else you need to prepare for is that there's going to be a dimensional expedition returning, and some people liked it while other people didn't really like it because it's time consuming and also it's kind of like a chore in some ways, but yeah, I don't think it'll be that bad because this is basically one way to socialize with your guild. So yeah, anyways, ready your guild, or if you're not part of the guild already, please join one if you want to get those stuff because they're pretty important. Because if you guys didn't know, this is the place where you can get the control like challenge points, like 100 of those for free. So of course you're gonna need to work for them, but that's besides the point. You don't really need to spend money just to get those challenge points. So yeah, doing some DE is actually a blessing because for one, you can get more of those challenge points later on. And then there's some changes that has expected in this update, but we already got those. So let me tell you what they are. So warning indication of your heroes have missing gear in the Apex formation menu. That's already in the game. And then add a hero's sword filter, which is also in the game already. So yeah, lots of quality of life changes for there over there. So yeah, we already got those. So I'm just saying because these were originated in CN, and we got those features early already, which is interesting. But although we could receive more changes that we are not expecting here. Anyways, we're moving on. Moving on to the new confession and exclusive. So this time around, we got a new exclusive. This is for Captain Mac. This is the headwear, HP plus 10%. And this one ignores skill cost when allies are within the radius of route marker, actively attacking and dealing damage. They steal one random buff from the enemy and applies one random buff to a Captain Mac. So yeah, this could be great in some ways. Like, as long as you're not stealing a skill that's like a guard skill, yeah, you're pretty much a sitting duck if you have a guard skill stolen from the enemy tank. So yeah, I don't recommend using this on Mac unless you really want to steal buffs. But in most scenarios, you don't want to steal the guard unless your hero is capable of guarding. Other than that, it's a nice addition. And then the new confession in this update is a sold. So we can finally confess with the dragon lady, the dragon lady that's been it's been the Apex meta for since forever. It's nice to see her being able to be confessed here. So we'll see how many battles we got like dealing with her. I could imagine like hundreds, depending on how long you've been playing the game, of course. Next up, let's talk about the new casting skill. So this time around, I already covered this in the other future Langrisser installment, but this is the gold version. So Some words here might be different than the last version I've actually that I actually said. So this is a revised version of, by the way. So, anyways, this is what they are. So D hard, D hard's casting is attack increase by 5% when there are two more or more female allies on the field. After using the skill to kill the enemy, the cooldown of the skill is reduced by 3 turns. So yeah, this is a quite solid casting for D hard. So will we be seeing him in Apex again? Maybe, but maybe not. Next up, let's talk about Evil God Kruger. Skill damage plus 10% when using Evil Overwhelming Skill, which is his 3C, the first part of it. Evil God Kruger can apply one more enemy. So basically, that first part of his 3C can be cast 2 times to 2 allies of your choice. So this is a nice addition for Kruger, but will we be seeing him in Apex? Again, maybe. I don't know. Because this skill is actually quite big for some players, of course, but in some scenarios, you're probably better off using Bozo if you want to go for the debuff meta. But nowadays, debuff meta is kind of irrelevant now because Guard Ignore has gone insane with those new additions. Anyways, next up we got Cortez. Soul Seal lasts one more turn. For each enemy on the field that has Soul Seal applies by an ally, the unit's attack range +1, up to max of 2. So yeah, this is pretty nice here. So like as long as he applies the Soul Seal debuff on the enemy, he will be able to attack from like much further than he normally would. So which is nice. And finally, we have Melania, one of the story mode characters in the game that has yet to receive the casting yet, but now we finally got one for her. Healing effect plus 10% when ally have 3 stacks of merit, which is a 3C buff, and the unit receives an additional effect, which is basically like when guarding, unit can counterattack first before the enemy can attack. So yeah, this is a nice improvement for Melania's guard assist skill. So like having that ally being a tank and be able to first strike makes them really well makes them pretty good guardian. Don't you think? Because imagine this, like if you have like a hero that can do like a first strike, yeah, that's pretty nice. Like Christian does that whenever she is free of her, like the 100 bana's stacks or whatever that is, like the stacks that basically makes her take more damage. So yeah, that kind of stuff is now on Melania's casting, which is pretty nice. And before we go, let's talk about what's going to be coming next after this update. So the next update is going to be a huge one for a lot of players. So for one, Ymir and Celica are coming, and this is also the place where we can get Elise for free. Yep, you heard it right. Elise is going to be available for free to everybody in this update under the Secret Realm event. So if you already gotten her already, don't sweat it because you can get 60 more shard of her to get her to higher stars. But if you already got her at 6 stars, then you can exchange it for divine shards instead. 20 of those. Although it doesn't really sound much, but it is plenty. So yeah, you get an option to choose one of those two. So anyways, that's it for this installment. So hope you all find this video informative, and I'll see you all next time. Oh man, I'm getting tired already. Anyway, see you all next time.